We got some breaking news. The Prime Minister of Slovakia, Robert Fico, has been shot. Details are slowly coming in, but as of the making of this video, Fico has been rushed to the hospital and he's reportedly in very serious condition. The shooter has been arrested. He's been apprehended, but no word as to who he is or what his motives were. According to the BBC, a witness heard 3 or 4 shots and saw Fico fall to the ground with apparent wounds to his chest and to his head. Again, he was rushed to the hospital where he is reportedly in a life-threatening condition. Now, immediately after news of Fico's shooting, and by the way, it's Fico. You're going to hear Fico a lot. A lot of commentators mispronounce his name because it's spelled F-I-C-O, but it is pronounced Fico. We've done a number of videos on him in the past because he's a major nationalist populist figure in Europe. And almost immediately upon word of the shooting, his rather pro-Russian nationalist populism came to the fore here. Fico's a major critic of NATO's policy towards Russia and Ukraine. He campaigned on that and he won. He is voted to halt military aid to Ukraine, and he's steadfastly opposed to Ukrainian membership in NATO. Now, again, just some background here. Several months back in September, the pro-Russian populist party known as Smer won parliamentary elections in Slovakia, and their leader, Robert Fico, was able to form a coalition government with what's often called the far-right or ultra-nationalist Slovak National Party. Again, what's interesting here is that Smer is more populist left, but politics in Slovakia tends to transcend the horizontal animosities of left versus right. They become very, very populist, which means that they're characterized more by a vertical animosity, which is the people versus the political class. And the political elite that Slovakians tend to be opposed to are the bullies in Brussels in the EU. Remember, thus far, the primary point of success for nationalist populist parties all throughout Europe has been sending politicians to the European Parliament. That's where Marine Le Pen in France and Nigel Farage in the UK came to the fore, primarily through European Parliament elections, where national populations want to deliberately push back against the bullying tactics of the Eurocrats in Brussels. Anyway, the key here is that Robert Fico, who returned to his role as prime minister. He had been prime minister beforehand a few years back. He was actually very anti-immigration back in 2015 in the original migration crisis that Angela Merkel facilitated by opening up Europe to a mass influx of migrants from the Middle East and Northern Africa. Fico, along with Viktor Orban in Hungary, the Law and Justice Party in Poland, they stood up to Merkel and Brussels and said, not our nations. In fact, Fico said back then that his country would only take Christian refugees, since Muslim refugees would only feel displaced in a nation that boasts of not having a single mosque. So there's apparently not a single mosque in the whole of Slovakia. So that gives you a sense of who Robert Fico is. Well, he returned as prime minister after campaigning on a pro-Russian, anti-NATO platform, vowing to halt military support for Ukraine. So obviously that opposition is coming to the foreground upon news of his being shot. Is this a coincidence? Well, let's just say most who've been following the Ukrainian war over the last couple of years highly doubt that. Now, Slovakia is part of a coalition of Central European nations known as the Visegrad Four. That's Hungary, Poland, the Czech Republic, and Slovakia. Austria is sort of an informal member of that brigade. And so Viktor Orban of Hungary has, of course, made his statement. He tweeted out, quote, "I was deeply shocked by the heinous attack against my friend, Prime Minister Robert Fico. We pray for his health and quick recovery. God bless him and his country." Orban is, of course, also a major critic of NATO's policy towards Ukraine and wants the hostilities to end. He wants to help broker a peace agreement in the face of NATO's very aggressive pro-military policy. And this, of course, foregrounds where we are right now with Ukraine, which we'll get into in a mere moment. First, I do want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor. Remember, we've been completely demonetized by YouTube, and so we have a very deep appreciation for our sponsors. And today's sponsor is a great patriot who's bringing amazing pain relief to the fighters in the UFC, and he's here to do the same for you. We all know that as we age, aches and pains are normal, but you know, they don't have to be. And that's where the groundbreaking medical scientist Clint Winters comes in. Clint's a world-renowned health expert who's unveiled a natural pain reliever that's taking the world by storm. It's called CB2. It's the 100% drug-free way to get full-body pain relief without dangerous meds, and it is the official pain reliever for the fighters in the UFC. So whatever you do, make sure to click on that link below and check out Clint's amazingly informative report on how CB2 is changing lives by providing safe and powerful relief at a fraction of the cost of pain pills. Click on that link below right now. It's being widely reported that Russian forces really are on the brink of crushing Ukraine's defenses. We've had Colonel Doug McGregor several times on this channel explain to us how Russian forces over the last 2 years have been slowly and patiently fighting a war of attrition, where they formed this fortified meat grinder that eventually and systematically whittles down Ukrainian forces. It's a war of attrition. This is how Russia generally fights its wars. It's a big country, much larger than Ukraine, obviously, and they know that if they fight a war of attrition, Ukraine will run out of troops long before Russia ever does. And so what's happening now is that Russian forces are taking over again the northern region of Kharkiv, that Ukrainian forces were able to win back, but they can't keep it. The second Russian offensive is reportedly even stronger than the first. And while all of this is happening, you got our Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, in Ukraine making an utter fool of himself. It really did have a Nero fiddling while Rome is burning vibe to it for sure. So obviously we'll be keeping our eyes on how things develop here, both with the horrific shooting in Slovakia and what does appear to be a collapsing NATO policy in Ukraine. Here's your opportunity to tell big tech tyrants where they can stick it. Click on that link below and download our brand new cancel-proof Turley Talks app, and you can sign our special declaration of restoration. That's our petition to big tech that declares a new day is dawned. They are no longer in control, and we are taking our nation back. We've already got over 1,000 signatures of courageous patriots, and yours is next. Click on that link below or go to fight.turleytalks.com right now.